Thank you. Bon dia and good afternoon.
Can I just ask something? Because like I've seen this event and I've joined because this basically Metaverse is also growing now in the food business. I've listened to podcasts. There's like a whole foodverse topic, and I'm especially interested. I don't know if the guests today will say something on the topic of writers, because apparently there's also like many opportunity there. They're already taking advantage of NFTs and so on. So I'm quite curious to find out more. I just want to throw in that if anybody knows anything, especially writing related, I'd be super happy to hear it.
Super, Carmen. When you were explaining this, I just already had a few ideas to share with you. So definitely.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question, Carmen. And on the end, all of you can join in or in between. It's very informal, so please be very free about it. So the event Slobraz Talk, organized by Chamber of Commerce, Slovenia-Brazil, the main agent of economic and commercial cooperation between Slovenia and Brazil, acting also proactively to seek opportunities and connect people and organizations interested in economic cooperation and commercial exchanges between these countries. With values to promote and encourage new ideas and create creative thinking, nurture collective problem-solving culture. Our activities and services are committed to achieving the best results. Our decisions always aim to ensure the financial stability of the organization. We operate with honesty and integrity for the benefit of our members and other stakeholders. Slobraz is committed to the constant improvement of our activities, programs, and services. Hello to everyone joining us here today, and special thank you to our guests, Rodrigo and Niko, for taking the time to give us some insights and their perspective and reflection on the topic that the whole world is talking about, the metaverse. A very extensive topic that we'll try to squeeze it into this hour and a half today's debate. The term metaverse has been thrown around the world a lot recently, but what exactly is the metaverse? What does it refer to? What is it now, and what is eventually going to become? And the most unique element of the metaverse is that it has more definition than anything else, but yet is still incredibly vague and opaque. So therefore, we invited these two guests to tell us more about the virtual world that will eventually become something bigger. So please welcome. First, I'm going to invite our Slobraz Association member, Rodrigo Pareto, the CEO and co-founder of Allegroz Digital Intelligence from Brazil. Please, Rodrigo, present yourself.
Thank you very much for the invitation and for the introduction, Matea. Thank you also, Slobraz, for this opportunity and participation. And thank you all for being here and hearing us about this talk. First of all, my background is finance and controlling. I have background working in multinational industries. I have the opportunity also to work 5 years in Chile, working with in factory, manufacturing installations, working in projects for exportation. Also had the opportunity to to be part of a startup project of a new facilities service repair for machines to mining, mainly mining industries. And I came back to Brazil in 2017 after start my my experience in entrepreneuring in e-commerce, okay, selling service through platforms like Airbnb and Booking.com. I started my my experience in the e-commerce through those platforms. And after talking to a friend. He introduced me my actual partner, who used to have more than 20 years experience in e-commerce. Of course, he started in the beginning, like with the business model, importing products and trying to sell on the internet. And through those 20 years, of course, he developed his business model and found e-commerce, one of the biggest e-commerce in Minas Gerais. And but the business model was like the traditional here in Brazil, that we import products, import brands to sell here in Brazil. But he wanted to do the opposite. Once we saw that the international e-commerce environment start to develop and be more easier to introduce new business models, we decided to create and start up Allegroz in 2020 in order to help brands, Brazilian brands, to open and markets, beginning with US, in order to using the e-commerce ecosystem to start this opening market. But of course, our proposal is open the whole global market for those brands. And of course, the idea later is brings other brands from other countries to Brazil and to different countries. That's why we decided to be associated to Slobraz, because it not only find opportunities to send brands, Brazilian brands to Slobraz, but to Slovenia, but also brings some brands from Slovenia to Brazil and some brands from Slovenia to other countries in the world. Okay, that's where we started. We have more than helped to open the web page or the stores in the marketplace like Amazon or Walmart. Our background is the planning, the business planning and the business execution, helping the companies to build this department, the intelligence of this department, doing the business management of this department, because it's not only you open the most of the companies still think that it's only you create a web page or open a store in Amazon, for example, and you start to sell. No, you have a business intelligence, you have a business management and strategy behind, in order you can have efficiency on sell and also in profits. That's the proposal of Allegroz, to help the business owners, the companies, in order to create this business channel, and how to plan and to manage the strategy and the implementation of this business. That's the proposal of Allegroz.
Thank you. And so we're gonna go back to you then to give us a little bit perspective and reflection on how you see the point of view from the spectrum of e-commerce, the metaverse. And
Yes.
For that, we just like to also give a word to Niko to introduce himself, please.
So my turn?
Yes, yes. Just to, I'd like to welcome you as a special guest coming from Slovenia. So please just introduce yourself. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So thanks for having me and for the invitation. Yeah. So as Natalia said, originally I'm from Slovenia, and when I was 18 years old, I used to play basketball, and that's it took me to United States. So for my first 2 years, I was on the West Coast, California and Oregon. And then I moved to New York, and I lived in New York for 10 years, finished my university there, started my first startup actually with my mom. We did the smoothies. We produced smoothies in Belgium, and we sold them to United States and Japan. And my mom, because my whole family is from the beverage industry, as I remember as a 5-year-old, my mom like having a beverage company and actually importing oranges and orange concentrate from Brazil. I remember that. So, and then she was also like traveling a lot to Brazil to meet all these factories and so on. So we did this smoothie company in the United States for 4 years, successfully sold it. I took a year off. I went to travel to Southeast Asia, saw electric bikes, got in love with that. Came back to New York, started with electric bicycles, a company with electric bicycles. I did that for 6 years. I also was managed to do at that time, that was 2013. I did a successful Kickstarter campaign. We actually raised $700,000 in 40 days. And then we also got the investments. And then I sold the company again in 2015, took a year off again. And as my mom, she did the Harvard Business School. She said that, you know, I have to follow her steps. So I went to Harvard Business School, finished the program there and become an alumni. And then it took me to blockchain and decentralized world, I would say. So I started to do two things. First, I started to invest in blockchain projects and all this. And then what I was starting to notice is that all these projects always came back to me and start asking me like, hey, do you have developers? Do you have branding, design, and so on? So I co-founded a company called NashMark, which is a design and development company focusing on blockchain. So we're doing this now for 5 years. And now I'm mostly in blockchain. And for the past year and a half, I started to focus now also my investments on the climate startups. So startups that are basically trying to do something great for our environment and the planet Earth. So there are some really interesting projects happening as well.
I'm very curious on that part of your projects. Niko mentioned he's coming from the entrepreneur family. So I have to say that I had the privilege and honor also to interview last year his role model, his mom, Lučka Klanšek, sorry. And his, of course, very talented younger sister, Ria Nina Klanšek, on the program Slovenian Businesswomen Around the Globe. Thank you. So Niko, let's stick with you a little bit longer. From your experiences, what is with the metaverse world? And could you give us a little bit of your point of view, some insights and about the metaverse and of course everything that comes with it? So please, the floor is yours again.
Yeah, so my thesis about this metaverse and also this, I'm believing that we are starting to live in 3 different worlds. Okay, so we have one world that is a corporate world, it's a government world, or like this physical world, right? That basically government is operating it. Then we have a second world, which is a corporate world, where corporations are basically running it. And now we have the third world. You can call it a metaverse, you can call it decentralized, blockchain, crypto, your Web3, whatever you can call it, right? So, but it's really decentralized. So if you look at from the point of view of identity, you know, like in the government world or in the physical world, when I have to identify myself, I will probably have my passport or ID that government gave it to me, right? In the corporate world, it might be my Twitter handle or my Facebook, Instagram nickname, and so on. But it's the Twitter or these corporations that gave me this identity. And then in the decentralized world, first we started it with the wallets. So your Ethereum wallet, 0x and the numbers, that's your identity. You're walking around and you're basically doing different transactions, interacting with different tools just with the wallet. That's your identity. Now with the NFTs and so on, or you call it a PFP, we are starting to see avatars. We are starting to see different groups that this is your identity, right? Like the famous, now the top 5 or top famous avatars, or like these PFPs, are like CryptoPunks, Bored Ape Yacht Club. You have the CloneX. Just 2 weeks ago, the Moonbirds launched, and so on. So yeah, there are 10,000 of them. And then, like if you were early on, you got it, like you could mint it, or now they're like 100 ethers and so on. So, but it's like, that's your identity now in this world. So then again, if we look at through the prism of currencies, in the government world or in the physical world, government issues the currency, right? You have euros, dollars, the government controls this. In the corporate world, again, like Facebook wanted to do their Libra coin. And I'm pretty sure that sooner or later we will have Amazon tokens and whatever, Starbucks points. We already have that. It's just that it's not on blockchain, So this is the currencies of the corporations that they are controlling it. And then in the metaverse, we have, thousands of different cryptos, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever, So again, it's decentralized. So, and what I'm seeing now, so this is like the 3 worlds, that's my thesis. But if you look at the metaverse, what is really metaverse? In my opinion, this is exactly what we're doing here. We are already in the metaverse, right? We're already, it's a Zoom metaverse, right? So in my opinion, we're gonna have many different metaverses, right? So, and I think that the hardest or the longest will be actual, like how are we interacting with the metaverse, right? It will be actually the hardware. So right now we only have the Oculus that you can put on and you can really like do the metaverse stuff, right? I hear that Apple is working on the augmented reality glasses, so that like you're gonna put your Ray-Bans or whatever per sole on it and walk on the street, but the street will have like layers on it, digital layers that you will see. One of the things that I just recently saw, and it's actually pretty cool, is that you're gonna put the glasses on, you go to the to a party, and then like all the other people that will have these glasses, they will be able to see each other, but they will have different dresses, but it will be digital dresses, right? When I put the glasses on, I'll just be in a black t-shirt, right? But when I put it on, I could have like a different costumes or different things, right? So that will be interesting. So yeah, many different metaverses, right? And the last point, my investment thesis in the metaverse and the NFTs is that when my girls grow up and they're 18, is that my thesis is that if I want to be a cool dad, I have to start collecting things to have it in the wallet, that when they came to me at 18 and say like, Dad, can you borrow this to me for the party? So I have an amazing dress. That's gonna be the cool stuff, right? Not some other things. So, yeah.
So actually speaking, we're gonna save a lot of money.
Not about the money, but probably the environment, right? Because we're not gonna produce things, but we're gonna have a bunch of clothes, but in metaverse.
Yeah. But you were saying about coins and tokens. Are you launching, or you launch your own Klanšek token?
I did like 2016. I wrote a smart contract for my Klanšek token, but just for fun, to give it to my cousins and to my family, just to have Klanšek tokens. Yeah.
Okay, small one. So, what do you say? How, if right now there has to be like available career roles in Metaverse? So, how to become a Metaverse expert?
Yeah. Okay, so they're like right now really still about the infrastructure, right? So more of the, like, if we are talking about these worlds, like Metaverse worlds, there are like few of them that are really just like building things right now. So the two most popular one are decentralized land and sandbox. Those would be the two most popular, right? But there's many of them. There's NFT world, there's crypto voxels, there's like a bunch of them, right? So in my opinion, the first thing what has to happen is that all these different worlds, they have to, you know, find their own niche. Like why are you coming there? Why are you using it, right? So for example, there will be ones that will be for games, right? So you come there and you play games. There will be ones that, for example, crypto voxel is really like starting to position itself as a place to visit galleries. So there's different galleries and you can like go there and like see the NFTs and the art and so on, right? Then will be different places. I believe that decentralized land is like going this way, is that it will be entertainment and meetings and events and like concerts and things like that, like just to hang out and meet, right? So be many different use cases that all these different metaverses will be shaping it. I also believe that, you know, metaverse shouldn't be limited in like size or anything. Its only limit should be our imagination. So I also believe that, you know, right now, for example, if I want to be part of the decentralized land or part of the sandbox, I have to buy a land, right? And they are basically, it's like worlds, like our planet. I buy like a little land. So I think it's 2 or 3 ethers now is the floor price. And then I guess I just have this much space where I can build things. I can build a house or like a theater or whatever. Like I can do different things on it. In my opinion, that's great for the use case that they might do it, right? For the entertainment or games or stuff like this. But also, I believe that eventually what's going to happen is that, you know, my domain name or my username, you know, you will just like typing klanšek.com, for example, my domain, you will arrive to my website, but really my website will be a doorways to my metaverse, right? So there will be a public metaverse where you can go there and you can view whatever I'm willing to show publicly, but then there will be a private door, right? And you can just like knock, or maybe we are having a meeting and you come into my metaverse, and then whatever I'm going to build in my metaverse, we can do it. You know, maybe I have a roller coaster in my metaverse, so you come hang out with me and we go on a roller coaster, you know, or yeah.
You made I have a question here. So all the social medias today, Facebook and Instagram, you think you're private, you have a private, man, but nothing is private anymore. So in Metaverse, there will be capable of this privacy. You think it's going to be secure, or because nothing nowadays is private anymore?
Yeah. So yeah, that's also about the business model, right? So my opinion is that we usually have a business model innovation or product or technology innovation, right? And I believe that when you have a technology innovation, the big corporations will win this, right? Because they have big budgets for the R&D, so they can develop it, that they can win this. And with the business model innovation is usually the startups, right? Because the big corporations cannot reinvent their own business model, right? So the small ones will do it. So if you look at internet was a business model innovation. That's why the startups were able to grow and beat the corporations. Smartphones is the technology innovation. So the corporations won that. And then we look at the blockchain, again, is a business model innovation, right? So like if you look at Facebook or Meta that is trying to do their own metaverse, sure, there will be one of the metaverses, right? But I don't think it's going to be as dominant as the other ones, because most of the creators and artists and developers might go to the decentralized ones, because, you know, let's just think of it like the Meta is trying to do like up to 47% of the fees to collect there, where like the decentralized other metaverses might take just few percent of fees, like with the royalties and so on. So it just doesn't make sense for me to build on the Meta.
Okay.
Matea.
Yeah.
Matea, you know that what do you think if I tell you that the expectation of total value of the market until 2025 would be $300 billion? That's the expectation of the market for Metaverse. But of course, this value consider all the ecosystem inside of or related to Metaverse, so developers, companies that are building stores or selling some products inside, NFTs, everything. They expect $300 billion of market value until 2025. If you don't mind, Niko, I liked your presentation and point of view, because you bring a point of view on my view, a technical one, of course, but I would like to introduce a point of view like from an e-commerce perspective, that what is e-commerce, or what is commerce? It's a relation between different people who wants to sell, who wants to buy. And I see the metaverse as evolution from different behavior of the human being. We start, like, for example, the social networks was a training for the metaverse that we are starting now. You know that the people start to use the social network to show how they want to be or how they would like to be. The people will start to interact each other first, of course, socially, and after they start to interact commercial or business, and and we found, I heard about the idea that we used we are changing from all we can be to all we want to be. In Metaverse, we can create our avatar in order to be, I don't like to be short, I want to be taller, or blonde, or red hair, or strong. I want to be the guy that it's like the first one was a pizza deliverer who wants to be hero, superhero, I don't know, no? Like a Conor the Barbaro, no? And this start to move different business models. Of course, cryptocurrency is the gateway, payment gateways behind, and you have the cloud systems and different ways of the people start to behave each other. Entertainment industry start to invest in this market. For example, could you imagine that today, for example, here in Brazil is gonna have in October, if I'm not wrong, Coldplay concert in a stadium.
Already.
yeah, exactly. In a stadium that, I don't know, 30,000 people, 40,000 people. But it's only 40,000 people. If you go to the metaverse, the sky is the limit. I don't know how many millions or 100 million people could be there watching the concert. And if you are the owner of a brand, you could expose your brand for these 100 million people in one concert. Could you imagine? So, and of course, the people start to go to this concert. They need, I don't know, clothes. They need a car, and would be more cheaper buying these clothes or fancy clothes, fancy cars in metaverse than you buy and maintain in the real world. So it sounds crazy at first, but for my point of view, when we start to think about the human being behavior and relation make sound, you know, the relation. I remember we started with Orkut, and the people have the need to publish the picture in the birthday, on the weekend, to show everybody where they were or what they were doing. I don't know. They need to show something. Why, for example, Instagram have some tools popular, like, for example, the filter. I saw recently, I think yesterday, I showed to my wife a picture of a manager that I have a business relation, and I show her, look how she is beautiful in this picture. And she told me, I think this is a Instagram filter. And I said, yeah, I think so, because it's different from personal. So in the metaverse, the people start to be have a freedom to be who they want to be, and they pay for it. So you have, for example, I hear also in another presentation that Boticário is a brand here in Brazil for perfumes and cosmetics. They built a store on Metaverse. I don't remember which one. They built a store and they had 9 million visits. 9 million, and you have a store in the biggest mall here in Brazil, and they don't have, I don't know, 100,000 visits only against 9 million. So the potential of this network, I think it's huge. I don't know what you guys, not only Niko or whatever, who wants to comment.
Niko,
think about it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm kind of a science fiction fan, so everything that was said here refers me back to authors like Philip Dick and Neuromancer, which was the predecessor of Matrix, and so on and so on. Okay. In this case specifically, it is very impressive in a business sense to know that 9 million people visited the store in the metaverse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't smell the perfumes in the metaverse, okay? So how many of these will actually go to the physical stores and buy something?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that these internet and cryptocurrencies things is growing is very impressive. I myself, I can't keep up with, everything is new, every day comes other things. But in the business sense, if I had $1 million, why should I invest in Metaverse? Or does it depend on the segment I am in? Or is it going to, if I am not in the Metaverse within the next 2 years, I am out of the market? I would like you or Niko to, to explore a little bit on this aspect?
Okay.
Please.
Well, first of all, thank you for your question and your point of view. It's really interesting and important. Okay. I want to answer your question with another example from my reality today on my business, e-commerce, which today we do not work with Metaverse. Okay, for example, many brands and companies from small to the biggest one, most of them doesn't work at e-commerce yet, or if they started, they only build a website or a store and think they are playing or on the e-commerce. And today is 2022, and when they started, I don't know, 1999, 2000, year 2000. So it's a development ecosystem. Okay, it's moving every day, and it's never late to get in. To be honest, I do not recommend my for example my clients to invest in a metaverse yet, because it's still a big fish jokes or game, you know. I think for the big brands like Coca-Cola, Nike, or Boticário, or even Prada, it's important because they are already well positioned in the market, and they usually are reference for the other companies and brands, and they have, especially because they have cash for invest on it, because like Niko was telling, it's under development, this market, this system. Right now we have different metaverse individuals. They don't communicate. So right now, if you buy Gucci shoes in Sandbox, you could not use it in your avatar in the Roblox, for example, because they are not connected. I think Niko can explain technically better than me why this NFT or this token could be used only in this metaverse and not the other. I think that's the huge
limiting factor.
Limiting factor, exactly. That's the huge point that they are working on it in order to scale this market. Okay, because of course you're gonna pay $2,000 or $10,000 for a property in one metaverse. Then I can buy the same property in a different metaverse, so it's not unique. No, so you want to buy, I don't know, an apartment in the 5th Avenue of New York, but you have be the owner, not all of us have one, right? The scars make more value your property, your asset. What do you think, Niko?
Yeah, you know, in 2000s, most of the startups, they were just like a copy paste from the real world into internet, right? So that's why 90 or 99% of the projects failed, right? Because they were like, why I don't need it, it's already working in the physical world, why do I need it now on the internet, right? So then the infrastructure started to be built, and then in 2000s like 2004 and so on, like you could start seeing a real projects that could not exist without the internet, like Facebook or cannot exist without the internet, or Uber or Instagram cannot exist without the internet and the smartphone, right? So in 2018-17, that bull run at that time, there was a big, why it was a bull run? Because of the ICOs, right? Initial coin offering projects. But again, if you could look at back, you could see 90% of the projects were just a copy paste of the internet projects now on the blockchain, right? And then again, you ask yourself, but why do I need a blockchain? It's already working on the internet, right? So from 2018 till now, the infrastructure for the blockchain is starting to be built. And we are starting to seeing the projects that they cannot exist without the blockchain. So for example, that would be like a Uniswap. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange that basically, I come with a wallet and somebody else comes with a wallet, and it's not connecting us actually, but it's like there's a pool here and a pool here, and I'm just like trading, and it's like super decentralized, and it cannot exist without the blockchain. Just a little example of the blockchain. And now in this bull run, 2021, 22, whatever, maybe we are in a super cycle, whatever, like, like the NFTs and the metaverse is like the hot topic, right? And so on. So what's really, in my opinion, what is happening, a lot of things are starting to be copy paste from the real world and the internet and this to now like in metaverse, right? And the other thing is that, people are envisioning how this can be, right? So they're like doing different projects. So in my opinion, again, 90% will fail and would not make sense. And in these next years, when the infrastructure is starting to be built, we are going to start to understand what metaverse can actually be and what's gonna make sense, right? That's like first thing. And the second thing is that, like to invest in metaverse right now, I think Rodrigo said it nicely regarding the Fifth Avenue. Yeah, it's like if you are just looking at the, like, for example, Sandbox that is selling the land, right? So it's like us going to a Mars right now and try to buy a land and figure out that is this going to be a Manhattan or not, like who knows, So basically it's really like just basically my opinion is like, yeah, definitely go in there, different metaverses, get skin in the game, play around and so on. And then, once you're in it and you're playing right, you're starting to see where the winds are blowing, right? And then you will see how, okay, this metaverse is going to be the use case, and these are the things that's going to work. So then you start to understand what's gonna happen in different metaverse. 2 weeks ago, I was in Lisbon at the NFT conference, and there was actually one guy that I talked to, was really interesting. Basically, what are they trying to do is, do you guys know REIT, real estate investment trusts, right? It's like a vehicle where, like, basically I can buy stock on the stock market from a real estate investment trust, and they own a lot of buildings, and then they collect rent and they pay me the dividends, right? So it's like in the real world, it's like this. So they're doing the real estate investment trust, but for metaverse. So whether their plan is to raise 10 million, buy lots of lands in Sandbox and decentralized, and then they have a lot of 3D artists and architects and different graphic artists, and they're gonna start building buildings there, different things of that, and then some of them they will sell, some of them they will rent, and they will have the rate. They will basically start paying back the rents, right? So maybe that's the interesting one. Maybe that definitely helps to accelerate the development in the metaverse of one of those metaverses, or maybe this is just a copy paste of something that it's already in the real world, and might be some different things.
Okay, so can we say it is promising but still uncertain?
Yeah, it's like the same thing. Again, maybe another example would be Michael Saylor. I don't know if you guys know Michael Saylor. Is the guy from the United States who invested with his public company few $billion in Bitcoin, and he's like super Bitcoin, but his buy price is about 10,000, I think, or $30,000 per Bitcoin, you know. And he was explaining really very, very nicely. He said, you know, I know about Bitcoin since 2011, but you know, at that time it was risky investment. I would never invest $1 million in it because it's like, you never know, it can die next day, right? But because it withstands 10 years of it, it showed that it cannot be hacked. It showed that, you know, more and more people are believing in it. You know, he invested it because it got the improvement, right? And now, but yeah, his buy price or it's 30,000, right?
Oh, Luis, where do you live?
I live in the wonderful city of Jundiaí.
Okay, perfect. I don't know very well Jundiaí, but I live in São Paulo. Why I ask you? Because, for example, here in São Paulo, today we have the Roberto Marinho Avenue, which is, today we have big buildings, business buildings, or the Avenida Berrini Avenue as well. A few decades was, I don't know, was a rainforest almost. Who wants to buy a house or a land there was doing a bet, no? After the politicians decide to open avenue and invest in infrastructure, it start to be a good place to build the building. So what I want to do with this example is that is the same thing what happened in the real world happened in the metaverse or in the online world, because you have risks as well, and depends of the how the people will use or will behave about these new technologies, you know. So I think the risk is the same, and the risk is always huge when you don't study, when you don't read about it, when you don't read different points of views. Because in the beginning, the cryptocurrencies, all the big banks was telling, no, this is a scam, this doesn't work, and all of this kind of critics. And nowadays we see BTG Pactual, BTG Pactual, Itaú, JP Morgan, all the huge corporations, finance corporations, investing on cryptocurrency. So what changed? What changed? That the people start to use it, to believe it, and taking the opportunity to answer the Carmen question. Carmen, I don't know right now the demographics people which is using the metaverse, but I can bet that the number is gonna grow and grow and grow. I don't know how many people are using nowadays, but it's popularizing. And to finish my comment, another reflection that I would like to bring to you is that, for example, what one asset that all of us have and is finite is time. If we are on metaverse zone, we are not in the reality, and if we are in the reality, we are not interacting in the metaverse. So what I want to reflect here is that every hour that the customer, the client, or the company is working on Metaverse, he is not in the real world consuming. So it's gonna divide or is gonna share your time. And it's not only the Metaverse. I remember when the co-founder of Netflix said that he's the main competitor was not the others streaming, but was the others entertainment who took the hour of the consumers, the clients, in order they were not watching Netflix. That's why they invested a lot in series, in serial, not only in movie, because you connect the people every day, every week in the platform.
Guilty as charged.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Rodrigo. Sergio, do you want to make a question, please?
Absolutely.
This one.
The question is the following. I'm not going to address it to anyone. You guys decide which one is going to answer this or both. Question is, how do I become relevant in Metaverse? And how do I remain relevant? Because, you know, you have all these platforms with algorithms. You pay to appear more in searches and this kind of stuff. How do I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, a good example was one guy. He built a gallery, right? And then he's renting the gallery to the artists. The artists can come there and like hang their NFTs, so people come and visit, right? So he can charge the rent based on like what's the traffic, right? So it's actually very similar to the real estate in our physical world, right? So if I have a good location, or if I have a big following, like newsletter or Twitter, you know, that I can say, okay, this month this event's gonna happen, so a lot of people come, I can charge more rent, right? So it's very similar to that. It's basically again about building your brand, building your community, and have a voice, so that you can share. That's one thing that I see the question from you.
And how do I engage more people to the content that I share there?
Many different things. So it can be something entertaining, something that it's if people want and they get there, or like for example in the case of Carmen, if Carmen, she's like, I see a lot of artists, that they are like focusing more in the beginning of building the following, building the community. Like, is it like whichever channel? It could be Instagram, could be Twitter, whatever, right? So building there so that they are relevant, and then listening to the community, what are they like expecting from them, what do they want, and then they are like doing these things, right? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Please, Carmen, could you join us with your questions?
Yeah, hi. So I have actually two questions, also open to whoever has a take on it. One is, my interest is what are the current demographics of people using Metaverse? Is just like from the business perspective to know, I mean, are we talking like more middle class, more women, more men, what type of age? And is this something expected to change in the future? Also, like if you have any predictions in what direction? And the second one is specifically for the blockchain technologies. I mean, my knowledge there is quite superficial, I will admit, but I think NFTs are somehow a part of this, because as an author, I've seen a lot of writers now creating special artworks or special book editions to sell as NFTs. And there was some, so to say, controversy regarding the environmental impact like I'm clueless about how this is, you know, produced and so on. But if you have any more information about what's the impact on the environment, and is this something that is being actively worked on or changed or anything? Thanks.
Cool. I'm happy to answer the second one. Rodrigo, go ahead.
No, I just want to ask you again about what impact on the environment. I didn't understand right the question.
What's the impact of producing NFTs on the environment? Like the whole production, selling, buying, whatever else is involved.
You mean related to energy consumption, for example?
I mean the whole environmental impact, so energy, everything that could be considered. Because I know for ebooks, it's quite. I mean, this is like different, but it's also disputed because obviously they save some energy on printing costs of you know, like the trees and production of paper, but there's probably a lot of electricity involved in reading, transferring, and so on. So any, like, as global as possible.
Okay. You want to start, Niko?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So just to understand why some blockchains are not environmentally friendly, right? So first, we basically, the way we separate them, there's many different blockchains, right? So, and we call them L1s or layer one, right? So it's the first layer. So for example, Bitcoin has its own blockchain, right? And Ethereum has its own blockchain, and Solana its own blockchain, right? So they are 2, 3, for example, just here that we have 3 different blockchains. And then there's basically 2 ways how the blockchains work, right? You have proof of work and proof of stake. So proof of work means that, for example, Bitcoin has a proof of work, means that you have millions computers around the world who are running the Bitcoin blockchain code, and then every time a new block comes, right, all these computers, they are using a lot of electricity to do hard calculations to open the block, right? It's called crypto because of cryptography, right? So it's cryptographic and it's open, right? So a lot of electricity goes to that to show, and this is like proof of work. I showed that I did the work to open the block, right? And when I open the block, I take all the transactions that happened from the previous block to this block, and I write them in, and then all other computers, they check the transactions and they confirm if I wrote everything correctly, right? And this is how you cannot have double spending, right? So for example, if I send you a Bitcoin, I can always just turn around and send the Bitcoin to Rodrigo as well, right? But because it's written in the blog that I don't have this Bitcoin anymore, now Carmen has it, you know, I cannot send it. So that's the way. But yeah, the way to do this is proof of work, right? You consume a lot of electricity. So I guess it's not good for the environment. And now you have proof of stake. Proof of stake means that, for example, Ethereum, it's going from proof of work now, most likely this summer, is going to switch to proof of stake. And proof of stakes means that I take 32 ethers and I put it into a wallet. And this wallet now it's like a smart contract, and basically the blockchain of the Ethereum will pick one of the wallets. Let's say my wallet. It's called Delegator, and it's basically will pick my wallet. Then would write all the transactions from the previous block, write them there. All the others will check, and if it's correct, I would get the reward, right? The same thing with the proof of work. You get the reward, right? I get the reward. But if I try to cheat something, right, and the others will say, I did something wrong, they would punish me and take some of the stake from me, right? So that's why in my interest it's not interest that I cheat, because I'm not gonna make money. I'm gonna lose money because they're gonna take money away from me, right? With the proof of work, is like I spend so much for energy, it's not worth it for me to cheat, right? Because they're gonna punish me with giving me no reward. So here, basically, yeah, you don't use any electricity, or as much as electricity as the proof of work to do the proof of stake, right? But of course, you know, at the end of the day, it's always, when you have something digital and computers involved, it's always some electricity, right? So, but it's minimal in compared to the proof of work, right?
Carmen, do you know how much energy the traditional and actual financial system working is consuming today, for example?
No.
Me neither. So how can we tell and say that the cryptocurrency consumption of energy is badly than the actual system? I'm not telling that is not. I'm just doing a reflection here. It's a trade-off.
I mean, it's mostly to know, because there's a lot of, how to say, backlash against NFTs in the writing community. I mean, I'm personally interested and seeing where it's going and kind of vaguely following. But I've heard these topics come up in terms of environment, and I'm trying to understand how, you know, to kind of get engaged into this debate and trying to understand more of where these claims come from.
No, of course, not. But I would like to do this reflection, because it's common, we read and hear that, oh, this new technology just make the consume of energy be higher, and we are we can destroy our environment, our planet, whatever, because of the consuming of energy. But I have never seen anybody tell, okay, let me do a comparison from the actual system consuming energy to the new one, you know, in order to prove that we have a huge difference. That's my point. Because we know that sometimes some industries, powerful industries that they are already history working, they don't want to change, because like Niko said, it's a decentralized technology. So no government, no industry or main industry is going to have control. So in my point of view, we must have attention of those kind of arguments, no? But related to NFTs, I think it's it's a good opportunity for new business models, and I would not be so much worried about this point of environment, because it's like, for example, the cars industry. When we start to have the cars, nobody decide to not use the car, because it's an evolution, and the technology, all the technology, when are developed, is developed in order to solve problems, in order to be more efficient in some way. So even the cryptocurrency and NFT is saving some energy, saving some waste that we have in the business model traditional, for example.
Carmen, in that particular instance of ebooks instead of a regular book on paper, I don't have the number, but I can assure you that the energy for producing an ebook or translating an ebook or sending ebooks over the internet or whatever is, you know, maybe 1% of what you would need to have a physical book. Not only that, the number of trees that you don't have to cut transporting the trees, okay, hitting the tree to get the pulp to later on those big, huge machines, produce the paper and then print the paper and so on and so on. This is one aspect. The other one is I have 3 Kindles, okay? In one of them, I have maybe 300 books, and it's something like that weighs 400 grams or 300 grams or something like that. If I had the physical books, I would need to build another room, okay, plus an index system and so on, just to, to control those books. The other advantage is if I had the physical books, I would lend half of them and would lose half of the half that I lend. So if you have your Kindle, it's always with you. You don't lend it to anybody. But it would be interesting to get the numbers. I don't know, maybe, in a later meeting, we could search the internet and find out. But I can assure you, it's much, much more efficient, much more less energy involved. Thank you.
Can I just make one comment?
Sure.
Thank you all for commenting and asking the questions. Carmen, before you were saying if it's going to be accessible to any of classes, which I have heard that today, I don't know the cost of the VR, the binocular, the goggles, and all the expenses that people have to be in this metaverse world. It's approximately, let's say, $2,000, and that in the future, this price is going to go to $500. So eventually, people, I think they will have accessibility to use the metaverse world. I think it's just a comment that I'm having now.
I hope you're right, because I mean, obviously, I'm interested in the numbers, in statistics of people who are using it now or who are somehow following it now. My guess, because I don't have the numbers, is that it's mostly middle class, upper class, mostly men. I don't know of what age, between, I guess, 20 and 50. But I hope, Matea, you're right, and the costs of the technology will drop, and then more people will be able to use it.
Exactly.
No, it's almost there. All technology starts expensive, and then drop the price. For example, the solar energy cells, for example, used to be a lot of expensive. And right now, the technology dropped the price, and that's why we can find a lot of projects of solar energy production, for example. It's a trend.
I would like also right now to present one of the guests that just have arrived. So it's going to be a little bit, I just called someone right now, a friend of mine that is already investing in the metaverse. And we invited quickly Taina Reis. Hello.
Hi, hello.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good,
So thank you.
We never met, so this is gonna be first time we see each other. But Ty and I, we have a friend in common. It's a very dear friend of mine. And right now, currently, they are investing in NTF and NFT and Metaverse, and they are involving in a new project, which is the Carnival, Metaverse in Carnival. Everybody knows that currently it's happening in Rio de Janeiro. So I'm very glad and very happy that you can join us. And if you can give us a little bit of your insights and everything that you're doing with NFT and Metaverse today, please.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And it was like last minute, but I'm glad that worked out. And I'm Taina Reis. I created the first cryptocurrency in Brazil in 2017. We did ICO back then, so that currency, the utilities for microcredit and finance for projects, and so has been like a long time my experience into technology and cryptography, and especially blockchain. And today we see like the trends, like I in the last year, we saw the advance of NFT, and NFT being the most searched word like ever, like most because of the art and the digital art space that made it tangible for people to see the utilization of that technology. But NFTs are not only a JPEG picture, like they can be avatar and give access to like a lot of, can be a voucher, can be a certificate for a project, a donation, can have like many utilities. And now we see the NFTs advancing into that space because they can represent the art, the artist, and a cause. Like I've recently joined the Word of Women. Word of Women is a special collection about women empowerment. And with that NFT, I can put into my profile picture into Twitter. I can tell people that I'm in favor of the women cause. I have kind of like a club of women that support the cause. The NFT, the proceeds, 10% of the proceeds, they go to women empowerment and projects. They are making a movie out of those NFTs. They are making games out of those NFTs. So by having my avatar NFT, I will be able to access more and more content and exclusive events and like a range of things and possibilities that I have. So the NFT is a way for a brand to create that connection with their customers and a fan base. So here in Brazil, we deploy for Global. Global is a big channel. They launched last year the awards, the music awards. So we issued the NFTs for Global. People that were voting the music awards, they were receiving the NFTs. And now in this week, we are helping with the strategy and execution of the digital twin of a camarote. A camarote is a place in the Sapucaí that people go to watch the carnival. So we are replicating the kind of the look and feel of the camarote, this area, into the sandbox and into the Centraland. Those are two of the most popular applications. They are more gamified applications, but people can experience kind of what is happening into the carnival. So we are delivering that as an experience to get people from the physical to the virtual space. We are also filming the carnival with a 360 camera, the one that I have here. So people will be able to feel the carnival and to go into an immersive experience. Everybody like that wants to be in the carnival and they cannot be in Rio, they will be able to experience and try within the Oculus, like they are there. So and having to getting to know that it's like a first class experience, like going, like people sometimes they don't feel safe. Oh, it's Rio de Janeiro, am I able to, oh, but you see that the full experience of the carnival is like first class experience. People are taking from the hotel with a transfer card, and they can get to enjoy the carnival experience and in a much safe way. And like everything is so beautiful when you are there, and you feel the energy of the drums and all the colors, and you can get to try that. And the other thing is the digital clothes. So we were able to get together many designers from Brazil, 3D designers, that they design virtual clothes for the avatar that people can experience in augmented reality. So you can have your phone, and then you see the dress, floating dress, and things for to wear in the head, like and many beautiful things. So we got a lot of celebrities on these 2 days, like they were like enjoying the carnival and wearing the digital clothes while they were there. And from that we can grow and extend to avatars and like other abilities for you to use your digital wearables as well. And the NFTs, like for this particular event, the person that promotes this event does a lot of other events along the year. And sometimes it's a nightmare for people to check in on the event. You need to check in once, and then there is another event the other week, you need to check in again. So the the NFT can bring the digital identity and what people need as well for to go to many events and to access like a lot of benefits and discounts and create an ecosystem of things that can flourish to that. But also for the ESG and impact, social impact, what we do in Moeda is that we issue NFTs related to coffee, to acai production in the Amazon rainforest. So you can, the NFT can also be an investment. So you can invest in 1 to 3 clicks, buy an NFT, and that you can have a return in within 6 months to a year from the revenue coming from the coffee or acai. So there is like a range of things that can bridge both physical world and the digital space, and a lot of ways that the brands will experience trying different, sometimes reinventing the brand. We need to look a lot for the next generation, the generation Z and Alpha. They are very demanding on experiences. They are very demanding on getting to know the sustainability of the brand, how the brand is doing for good, and carbon credits, and like a lot of things that you can associate to selling a product that can be very transparent when you present your brand into the digital space. Like people can purchase a t-shirt and they can see that is made from organic cotton, and they can visit São João that plant the organic cotton. So you can give a full, like the storytelling, we call it story living for the brand through a digital experience. So a lot of things that are about to change. We don't call it future anymore, it's present for many sectors. They will encounter that difference into approaching customer into the digital space is community-based. So people have to build communities around their brands. They will have to think on like beyond the brand is selling on a physical way today. So there's a lot of things. I saw like someone talking about statistics. If you're interested, I can share a couple of documentation from Citibank and JP Morgan, like complete documents about like who is buying, who is selling, who is like into the metaverse. I'm happy to do that and share those statistics. It's a $1 trillion market. Many things will turn digital. We'll see the digitalization of products and brands and identity playing a big role into like connecting the dots and connecting the dots with NFTs. So those are a couple of ways. I hope I presented well, and if you can reach out to me, and I'll be happy to explain details for like different sectors and other things that we are doing as well. But thank you so much.
First of all, Diana, congratulations, and thank you for checking in last minute and give us such interesting inputs from real experience, building and investing and creating this future, or you say present, but it's going to be future for us. So Niko has a question, please.
Yeah, hey, is it possible to share a link to the digital clothes project?
Yes, they will be available for the public on the 30th on this Saturday, because now they are exclusive for the event. But I can share like a couple of videos of like people wearing it.
So this is the investment thesis for me, you know, for my girls.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this. Are you going to share, Taina? Are you going to share? Or I think she was saying something interesting, Carmen, no? About the women and gender. Do you have any comments on that?
No, I mean, I think it's, sorry, my camera is off. I think it's gonna open a lot of possibilities in terms of safety of space. And I was also thinking, as I was listening to the presentation, that in the world of post-mid pandemic, wherever we are, I mean, being able to attend the carnival in Rio is going to be definitely something interesting, something you can do from when you're not allowed to travel or not able to travel for whatever reason. And yeah, I mean, it does open a new question. So I'm quite curious to see how this will further develop.
So, Tina, are you going to share? You said you're probably going to share something with us. Yeah, okay. There's a video I'm going to try to share.
Yes, now it's
Yeah.
ready. Can I share here? Can you see my screen?
We do. This is the famous, how do you say camarote in English?
I don't know. VIP area.
VIP area on the, Niko, there's a avenue, which is where the school, Samba school, they pass through, they do the parade. So on each side you have like for middle class or lower class, or you have for high class, which are like the paid VIP areas. So one of these areas is called Nosso. This is a Nosso VIP area. And they were presenting this project inside this VIP area. There was actually paid area to enter.
Yes, and we also launched the NFT collection about women from samba, the singers and composers of samba. So we presented that as well. So part of the procedures, they go to women for related projects for microcredit and finances for women entrepreneurs as well. So that it was the first NFT that we issued, particular for that collection, representing the women from the carnival. And also we did the experience on Sandbox that is coming soon on the Alpha 3. It's not live yet, but we have also an experience on the Centraland that will open up on Saturday. That will be live on Saturday. The Sandbox is just when Alpha 3 is launched. So it's both like Moeda is my company that does the financial part of it. Allbetune is the company that related to music and experiences, and BREFW is the first fashion week that happened here in Brazil 3 years ago. So we combine our experiences into this like big partnership for providing the full experience on the metaverse, both on the fashion part, the publicity, like from mentorship, like guiding the company and the brand and how to position themselves into the metaverse, to execution of an app or a product. We can handle all the phases of the project. We also have a blockchain team like ready to go, so to do play to earn games and a range of things like we are capable, and we have in-house experience and technology to do so. We have integrated in like more than 6 blockchain protocols, so we have like all the infrastructure to just fly, get the imagination beyond. So that is like the fashion part that we get there. But we did, let me go to here. So that was the exclusive avatar for the camarote. So people are able to use that. And we did the particular ones for the range of people to use and to experiment and try. So Ireland is the bigger brand that we call it not storytelling, but story living. So that is doing both this like mentorship for the brands and the main execution for the complete vision into getting into the metaverse. So those are celebrities. They were into Big Brother and a couple of models. Like that is like a lot of people there that experiment and try the clothes, and because they're like super celebrities, we are sharing them on the video into the event, and everybody, oh, I want to use that. I want to try and experience the avatars and the things, and people were super excited to see and to try. I can show you here. This is Romario, one of the top like football players. He was like trying that. So it was like, so it was super fun. Like
they become children again.
Yes, yes. So in the carnival was like the magic and the fantasy side was easier for people to try out and experience the filters. Was like a way to go, was the best place to be, that people were like comfortable to try and have the experience of the digital dresses and all the things. So this is like Cynthia Dixer. She's like a famous model like here as well. So she was like trying, and so people were just like having so much fun with that. So it's like a big way to both promote the brand and get this like big exposure now for the carnival in Brazil and international press. So like positioning the brand as the first one, the first like camarote, this like VIP area, doing this is like going ahead of time. Like no one was doing that. It's like more than 10 other VIP areas. People are like, what? What is going on? People are like trying to do something for 2023, but 2023 can be too late sometimes with a technology that is going so much fast pace, because we did those actions for them. They were like just boom, boom, boom. They were just ahead of the time with what we have shown and what we have done in such a small, short amount of time that we have to execute that project. But was super fun, was super beautiful. And now this can unlock like other opportunities for both for us and for the brand in the future.
Diana, thank you very much for that experience. That was a really good presentation in pictures and videos. So we're going to wrap up. We are already coming to the end. If anyone has any questions, comments or reflection, please do now. And I would just like to say thank you to all three of you joining and us here and telling us all these insights, this amazing team that I think it's still developing and it's gonna show something very big in the future. So please.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so very much. Just let me know when it's going to be the next one.
We'll do. But I just have one question before we leave. Metaverse in Slovenia, how it developed? It's still like beginning, or people they're getting to accept it? How is in Metaverse in Slovenia? Niko?
I mean, it depends who you talk to, but my circles were all in it. So, you know,
Okay.
in my circles, we're all in it. So,
Okay,
yeah.
because in Brazil, it's a very digital oriented and advanced and big users of the digital world. And I think it's something, it's quite that fit Brazil. So I think Brazil is going to be in like short time, as Dan also said, it's going to burst. It's going to be something really big here, I think. Because the users, also Brazilian users of video games, and if you remember Talking Cat, this was actually founded by Slovenian people, and the biggest users of that application of Talking Cat were Brazilians.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
amazing.
So the coming month, as I said, you will see multiplied definitions of what the metaverse will be. Some will succeed, some will not. This is going to be expected. And also the pioneering companies are still exploring themselves. However, thinkable results are starting to surface, so we can begin to see what it could look like. So thank you all for joining, and hope this talk gave you some better perception on this topic. And I know the hour is not the ideal, but important is that we tape it, so that is going to be available on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to share with you as well the link. So thank you. Have a great day, and it was really nice meeting you, Dinah, and hope to see you soon, and hope the connection will happen now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Okay.
week.